y'all, it's Jessica from Sloppy Swatches. Today I have a look at the on-the-cover holographic collection that is available right now from Live Love Polish. This collection was sent to me for review, and I'll link my affiliate links down below. It doesn't cost you any extra to shop through those links, but it does help support this channel. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into this swatch and review. First up is Casting Call, and this polish is currently sold out, but there is a wait list available. I'll go ahead and link it in the blog directly if you're interested. This polish is described simply as a silver linear holographic polish. So there's a quick look at that brush shot, and I'll go ahead and show you how Casting Call swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. This polish does double as a topper over any other, especially cream in your collection, and it will give it a holographic finish. I definitely tested that out. One coat is fairly sheer though, so I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it builds up for me with that second coat. So 2 coats does add a stronger rainbow. If you're doing it as a topper, you really only need 1 coat. 2 coats will begin to kind of silver out that base a little bit, but 2 coats on its own does amp up that coverage. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with that third and final coat. So here for my third coat, I did go in a little bit thicker, and it did pull this polish right to the edge of being completely opaque. I do still have some nail lines showing, but once you get those rainbows flashing, it's really not that visible or in your face at all. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. So you can see there, you can't see nail tip. All you see are those gorgeous rainbows. This is my final swatch photo at an angle, again in that direct sunlight. So next up is Issues, and this polish is available right now. This polish is described as a red linear holographic polish. I did find this to be a true orange-based red. You're not going to pick up any pink in there at all. It's going to be very vibrant and vividly red in your face. So here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Issues swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at our first easy coat. These are all in pretty much jelly bases. That's really going to let all of that holographic glitter build up on itself for a really strong effect. However, it is a little bit sheer, so you're going to need to build it up. So I'm going to go ahead and let this coat dry and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here's a look at my second coat. I did find that almost all of the polishes in this collection were really close to being completely opaque in 2. However, I do have very strong visible nail lines, so I did need to go in for that third coat. It may be down to personal preference for you or application method or even how much free edge you need, but I did really appreciate the depth that I have at third coat. So this is the look at that third and final coat, and it did pull this polish completely opaque. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat, and this one is absolutely stunning. That could be perfect for Valentine's Day too. So this is my final swatch photo at an angle, again in that direct sunlight. This next polish is Editorial, and this is my top pick of this collection. This is described as an oxblood brown linear holographic polish. I did find that it pulls a little bit more red or a little bit more purple or a little bit more brown depending on the lighting source, but there's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Editorial swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first easy coat. Again, this does have a bit of a jelly formula, so that first coat did go on nice and evenly, just a little bit sheer. So I'm going to go ahead, cap the tip, complete that coat, let it dry, and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here's a quick look at that. Again, 2 coats, really close to being completely opaque. If you wanted to stop at 2, I think that is completely acceptable. I did still have a little bit of visible nail line peeking through, so I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with that third and final coat. So here's a quick look at that. I do appreciate this third coat. I do think it deepens up the finish and maybe adds more of a tighter rainbow effect. I really love how vampy and deep this is on the nails, and honestly, I could live in this polish for the rest of my life. It is just that gorgeous. So here's a view from another angle in that direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. You can see more of those red tones peeking out there, and this is my final swatch photo at an angle, again in that direct sunlight. So next up is Layout, and this is another stunner for sure. This polish is described as a forest green linear holographic polish. I did feel some teal tones in there as well, very bright and vivid, super beautiful. So here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Layout swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. Underneath all of these polishes, I did use my base coat, so I do recommend going in with your favorite base coat. I didn't have any staining, but these are extremely pigmented. So here's that first coat. Again, a little bit sheer, definitely very appropriate for that jelly type finish. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So 2 coats, again, adds a little bit more depth. It was still just a little bit sheer for me, not a problem at all. These do dry down fairly quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this second coat and then show you how it built up for me with that third and final coat. So here's a look at that. 3 coats for sure brings this polish completely opaque. Again, lots of depth, lots of rainbows. These are very strongly holographic and really gorgeous jewel tones. So again, 3 coats. It did bring this one completely opaque. These are really easy to work with. They're not going to flood on you or anything like that. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with that glossy top coat. And then this is my final swatch photo, again under that same direct sunlight. So next up is Lookbook, and this is just another beautiful polish, especially if you love blues. This one is very deep, almost cornflower. It's described as a blue linear holographic polish. Again, I didn't have any staining with this polish, but I did go in with my favorite base coat. So here's a quick look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Lookbook swatched on my natural nail. Here's a look at that first easy coat, really easy to apply, very user-friendly. I didn't have any staining with this polish, but you maybe just want to be a little bit mindful. Blues can sometimes be prone to that. So one coat made for awesome coverage. I did go in a little bit thicker there. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry and then show you how it built up for me with this second coat. This was one of the polishes that I could easily get away with 2 coats. I feel like a lot of them were right on the edge, but I was really happy with the finish and depth here at just 2 coats of a Lookbook. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat. Super, super beautiful. I could wear this one all year round too. I'm in love with Holos anyway. But this is my final swatch photo at an angle, again in that direct sunlight. So this next polish is called a Close-Up, and this one is extremely limited. If you are interested in this, the last time I checked the site, there were only 2 bottles left. I think there will be a wait list though. This polish is described as a purple linear holographic polish. Really gorgeous. It does seem to have some of those magenta or orchid tones in there. So pretty. That's a look at that brush shot, and then I'll show you how Close-Up swatched on my natural nail. So here's a look at that first coat. Again, with that jelly formula, it does go on a little bit sheer, but you do get a good amount of color there, and it does go on nice and evenly. No brush stroking or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead, cap that tip, let it dry, and show you how it built up for me with that second coat. So here's a look at that second easy coat. Again, this does add more depth, more pigment, more color, but it was still just a little bit sheer for my taste. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry down and then show you how it built up for me with that third and final coat. And here's a quick look at that. It did bring this polish completely opaque. It's super beautiful on the nail. Honestly, there's not much else I can say about these. They're just really, really pretty, especially if you're in the market for holographic polishes. I think these are gorgeous jelly finished types. So here's a view from another angle in direct sunlight with a glossy top coat, and then this is my final swatch photo at an angle, again under that same direct sunlight. So that does wrap up my swatch and review of the On the Cover holographic collection. These are available right now at livelovepolish.com, and if you're interested in seeing any more photos of any of the polishes featured here today, I do have those available on my blog at sloppyswatches.com, or you can also visit me on Instagram at sloppyswatches. So thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.